I still remember the absolute disbelief, shock, and intense intrigue I felt the first time Ezio stepped into the vault in AC2. The revelation of the ones who came before, and the final gut punch as Minerva speaks directly to modern-day Desmond. This changed how I viewed video games, what they were capable of making me feel and experience. This series has taken us on amazing journeys from the Holy Lands to Renaissance Italy, revolutionary France, and even ancient Egypt. And today, I would like you to travel with me as I discuss why Assassin's Creed is so special. While I have made many positive videos about the series, I have also made a lot of negative ones, talking about what I would like to see improved. For this video, I would like to try and remain positive, talk about what I really love about this series, its worlds, stories, and characters. So jump on the carriage and let's go back to where it all began. First and foremost, Assassin's Creed is initially appealing for the amazing time periods and historical events we get to visit firsthand. Most people are interested in history, and getting to visit these places and times is such an amazing experience. I can't think of another series that has transported us to so many different times and historical periods in this much detail. The fact that every game is different is a huge factor to the popularity and the reason this game has been able to deliver 13 mainline titles and still be so prominent in the gaming realm. We have all heard about ancient Egypt, pirates, Vikings, the American colonies, and the French Revolution, but all the books in the world couldn't deliver the feeling of actually being in and experiencing these timelines, and that's where Assassin's Creed shines. The amount of work that goes into these games to deliver an authentic and realistic historical period is insane. While I often deride Ubisoft as a company, there is no doubt that there is a lot of talented people that work on these games, and the level of research and dedication these people have to these historical periods is unmatched and admirable. Assassin's Creed is historically accurate to a point, but many things are changed to suit the narrative. This is baked right into the story itself and is explained in the very first game. Vidic tells us that the Animus shows the real history, and the history from books and the historical transcripts is often false. I have absolutely loved following along the historical events of these ancient periods, discovering hidden truths and meeting important figures from these times. Just to list a few: Cleopatra, George Washington, Niccolo Machiavelli, King Alfred, Julius Caesar, Leonardo da Vinci, and even Socrates, or Socrates as he calls himself in the game. You no longer have to imagine how these people would speak or look. You can talk to them, interact with them, and in some cases, assassinate them. That is a truly captivating premise and one that AC delivers on in every one of its 13 games. These games can often inspire us to go out and look at the real histories of these places and learn even more. If the historical characters and storylines aren't enough of an allure, the beautiful worlds of these time periods might just be enough to draw us in. A few of my favorites are Egypt from Origins, Italy from AC2 and Brotherhood, Revolutionary Paris, and Industrial London. Just take Egypt for example. We get to explore this vast area of Africa, visit these amazing tombs and monuments that were old even when Bayek was roaming the desert. One of my favorite facts is that the time gap between the pyramids being built and Cleopatra's time is longer than from Cleopatra's time to the present. So the pyramids were older to Cleopatra than she is to us. That's pretty mind-blowing. Exploring this region of the world was an absolute wonder, no pun intended. And the devs even managed to predict a hidden chamber within one of the pyramids which was discovered after the release of Origins. The developers lovingly recreate these worlds with an immense amount of details that need to be discovered through relentless study of historical data. I for one loved running around Industrial London, and while it's the most modern of the lot, it's still an interesting period to experience face to face. It's beautiful in a way, even though it's a smoggy, horrible place to exist within. I got to feel that, and although I wish the story was darker, the world itself transports me back to that time, and I get to experience a little of what it was like to live in that time. That is so special. Something I think we might take for granted. Another underrated thing about AC is the involvement and the weaving of the assassin story into the historical stories. We get to influence and take part in pivotal battles or moments throughout history, shaping the future and the course of history. Once upon a time, Ubisoft was an innovator. They created games, stories, and mechanics never seen in games before. I believe that there are a few mechanics that are still very special and unique to AC that we should praise. First of all, parkour. Parkour has existed in many games, but never like in Assassin's Creed. Now, while parkour has changed a lot over the years, the original idea is still to this day not been replicated in the same way. Not that I've seen or felt anyway. Being able to traverse rooftops, swing up and down buildings, creep across various different hanging apparatuses? I don't know. And diving into hay bales from simply obnoxious heights to infiltrate buildings and other areas unnoticed is still one of the coolest things to do in games. I love the feeling when I complete a mission completely unseen by anyone. I prefer the games where I have more control, such as the Ezio trilogy and Unity, when it works. Social stealth has existed in games before and after AC, but Assassin's Creed has always had a unique spin on it. Moving through groups of people, blending in on benches, being one with the crowd and striking from the shadows. It just feels great to walk right up to your target in the full light of day and finally reveal yourself just when the time is right, striking your enemy down. This instills fear into your enemies and is just such a special feeling when combined with all the other gameplay features. Other mechanics that aren't as unique but are still intriguing nonetheless are the aerial assassinations and other cool moves you can pull off to take out your targets, or the different tools that you're equipped with in each game. All of these mechanics when used together create a special kind of gameplay loop that makes you feel like a badass, like you really are a sneaky assassin. That's why we love these games, being able to enter the Animus and become Edward, Connor, or Altair, not just story-wise but actually perform the actions that they would have. There's a reason that Ezio is still beloved even 13 years after his last game was released. There are some very special protagonists and supporting cast members from this series that just make it so extraordinary. Not only are many of the protagonists extremely interesting and well written, but so are many of the side characters. Haytham is a fan favorite character and is one of the main antagonists of AC3. Admittedly, you do play as him for the first few hours, but most of the game is spent attempting to thwart his actions. He is a calm and calculated person, who is usually the smartest person in the room. On numerous occasions he schools Connor. Now while he is wrong in a lot of ways, he seems to have arrived at his conclusions through what seems like logical reasons. This makes him compelling, as he's not just some recycled power-hungry maniac we get so often as villains. And it's not just villains, the supporting allies of the Ezio trilogy are so compelling. Machiavelli, Mario, Yusuf, Leonardo, Caterina, and of course Sophia, just to name a few. Having well-written characters isn't unique, although it does seem to be happening less and less these days. Anyways, let's stay positive. It isn't unique, however, it's just another layer of the game that makes this series special. A reason to care for these worlds and events that take place there, the people it affects, and how it will affect you, the player, to see the characters you care about and love go through hardship or happiness. Back to the main characters though, there are some amazingly written protagonists such as Altair, Ezio, Edward, and Bayek. All with wonderful character development, stories, and they feel like real people who you were invested in, people you want to see succeed and defeat evil. I think Connor is brilliant too, although that's not a popular opinion, so I'm told. The things people say as negatives about him speak to me as to why he's so interesting and unique. He is definitely naive, he is definitely rash and a bit monotone, but that's who he is. He is set on a goal and everything else is set dressing to him. He doesn't care for government or natural proceedings or even manners a lot of the time. He cuts through the shit and gets to the point. That's how I remember him, as a no-nonsense killing machine set on fixing the world for his people. And I love that. I think that's pretty special. Enjoying the video? Please hit that like button and subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content. Appreciate it. Cheers. Love it or hate it, Assassin's Creed has always told a unique story, and although many of the games decide to forget this, AC is actually a sci-fi series. Even if it occasionally loses its way, there is nothing quite like Assassin's Creed. Nothing that spans so many different decades of actual history, deciphers a lot about an even more ancient past, and predicts the future. No. No other series manages to capture this magic in such a unique way, with such interesting consequences for both past, present, and future. Focusing more on the historical story, the one we spend most of our time exploring, we can see how the writers weave each of the important plot points into a coherent narrative even when there is so much to take into account. The stories follow a made-up group of people loosely based on a real group of people. So these are the fun new things that they get to add and create. But this is all often weaved into the actual history of the world. The other aspect is the Isu stories that have to relate to all three timelines and be meaningful. A tall order that not every game has got right. But there's no denying that this series has had some truly brilliant writers at the helm of some of the best games that have relayed some legitimately immaculate storytelling. I was genuinely mesmerized by the ending of AC2, which was my first ever AC game back when it released in 2009. I was young, so never picked up on all the clues or hints towards the ones who came before, as they were referred to back then. Anyways, my point is that this blew my young mind. I had never seen anything like this. Playing history through an animus and talking to even older species in a secret vault with a member of a secret order. It was all so cool, and even now, every time I replay it, I get the same feelings. The story is just so perfectly written that every surprise and meaningful moment hits just as hard as the writer intended. The end of Revelations is like this, but 100 times better. I love that ending more than any other video game ending ever, but we'll save the gushing over that for another video. What I'm trying to say is the stories are one of the main reasons this series is so special to me. It was a large part of my late teens and something that really set the standard for the type of stories I would go on to enjoy in other games or media. Obviously, the main theme of Assassin's Creed has always been freedom versus control, assassin versus Templar, good versus evil, but that last one is where the lines start to blur. Both Assassins and Templars have done things that are both good and evil. I mean, the goal of both organizations is actually righteous. They both want world peace, but the ways in which they want to achieve this are very different. The Assassins are always the heroes and the good guys of the story, but if you're paying attention, you will notice that they all do immoral things to achieve their goals. Whether it's stopping the Templars or enacting their own ideas, the creed itself is a contradiction. The Assassins preach about freedom while demanding loyalty to a creed and an organization. These games make you think. Think what you believe about the world, how you treat others, and what you think about freedom versus control. Every game has many other moral quandaries within the stories, but the struggle for freedom is usually the main point, and a great one at that. I love games that make you think, and for the most part this series has been pretty good at doing that. As mentioned in the story section, no other series spans 3 separate timelines quite like AC manages to do. A huge part of its success was the early game's insistence on having a grounded and well-told modern day story. I made an entire video discussing why modern day is so important, but it is the gateway to the series, what makes it unique and makes it feel connected and important to our own world. The consequences of the game's outcome could affect you, as it's our world that is at risk, not the Holy Lands or ancient Egypt, but our timeline, our 2012 end of the world. The fact that it feels more personally connected to the player is a huge factor of what makes the stories feel so important and even more interesting. Without it, you would just have an alternative history simulation game, which, while still good, would not be as extraordinary as AC has the potential to be. And without modern day, you cannot have the Isu. The ones who came before, or the Isu, are an ancient race of human-like creatures who actually created humans to basically be slaves to them. They leave messages throughout history to give to modern-day humans to help them, or control them in Juno's case. One of the most heartbreaking moments is when Ezio realizes he isn't the intended recipient of the messages from the Ancient Ones. He is just the messenger boy. I feel for him, but he is so very important to Desmond and all of us in the future, that he helps us and our planet. That is so unique. If anyone has other games or media that is even remotely like this series, please let me know, but honestly, it just feels so perfect for me, which is why I get so annoyed when they don't treat this franchise right. All these facets combine to make a series that is so influential and special to me. It awoke a love for stories like this in all media, and I am always so intrigued to get into any new thing from Assassin's Creed. I have said before that I love AC, and that is true. I hope this video made you remember the great times of this series, as I know the world and especially this community can be very negative at the moment. I think we need to chill out a bit and try and realize why these series were so important and special to us in the first place. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I am really thankful for all the support you guys put into these videos with likes and comments. If you want to support me further, I have a Patreon link, which will be in the description. But I have to shout out my one and only patron, Alex Applegate, who's been keeping this channel afloat for years. I am truly thankful. Alrighty guys, sticks out.